What is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest, and we have some very exciting conference expansion going on again. Seems like it's never going to stop. So, first off, we've got the Big 12 meeting with teams that could possibly take the conference to 17 or 18 teams. From what I understand, it's like an 8 to 10 team list that they're meeting with. I'm sure a lot of those are going to be the basketball only options like a Gonzaga or a UConn, but a lot of those are probably some of these solid football options that we haven't quite offered to. There's a lot out there, right? Tulane, Memphis, SMU, stuff like that. There's a lot of different options out there that could be good moves for the Big 12. Also, the Mountain West and the Pac 12 are talking merger. Supposedly, Stanford's not on board, but the Pac 12 and the Mountain West are talking merger. We're going to go ahead and dive in. We'll talk about all that. Before we do, though, make sure you guys like the video down below. It helps get it out to more Utah fans and Big 12 fans and Pac 12 fans. Also, comment down below. What do you guys think? In the best interest of the Big 12, should the Big 12 go over there and completely squash what's left of the Pac 12? I mean, I feel like you take two teams out of that group. Honestly, I would think Oregon State and Washington State would be really awesome additions. Comment below what you guys think. Should the Big 12 go over there and just pull what's left? Because you know Oregon State and Washington State are accepting the offers. I would imagine they would even accept the half share if we gave it to them. So that'd be pretty awesome. Obviously, Cal and Stanford are also awesome options. So if there's a chance to get them, not a bad option for the Big 12. I'd love to know what you guys think. Comment down below. Also, comment down below what you guys think is the best move for the Pac 12. Obviously, you got to look at Group of Five, but there's a lot of good Group of Five teams out there. We'll talk about what that would look like. And most of all, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. If you guys love Utah Utes football, or you guys love Big 12 football or Pac 12, what used to be Pac 12 football, please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and follow along for the ride. Outside of that, let's go ahead and dive in and go Utes. All right, guys. So first things first, let's talk about the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is going to be meeting with the Mountain West Conference tomorrow. Tomorrow at some point. I don't know if it's the morning or what, but they are looking to merge the two conferences. Supposedly Stanford's against it, but is willing to ride this out for the sake of the other teams. It's good on them. But you got to wonder with Stanford, like, where does this all wind up for them? Either way, though, I think when you look at the Mountain West Conference, seriously, if you really take a look at it, you got a decent slate of teams. You got Boise State, Air Force, Fresno State, San Diego State, maybe Colorado State. But outside of that, guys, I don't know if you really have a team that can move or a conference that can really move the needle. And that's not something I'm relishing in saying, right? Like that's not a I'm not excited to think that the Mountain West could fall apart, but I think if you're the Pac-12, so if you're the Mountain West, the merger is what you want because that's the best way to make sure that all the teams in the Mountain West don't die out. But if you are, if you are the or the Pac-12, what's left of the Pac-12, the Pac-4, you are not going to want that, right? You're going to want the top teams in the Pac-12. So let's go ahead and say all the really viable teams in the Mountain West right now. So we've got, I think, just being realistic, this is where my mind is, and some of you guys might disagree, but let's imagine the teams that could really do something in the Mountain West are Boise State, Colorado State, Hawaii, UNLV, San Diego State, and Fresno State. So one more time. That's Boise State, Colorado State, Hawaii, UNLV, San Diego State, Fresno State. Okay, that's six. That's six teams. Let me just make sure I got that right. So Boise State, Colorado State, Hawaii, UNLV, San Diego State, Fresno State. So that's six teams. And then you've got what's left of the Pac 12, right? Stanford, Cal, you've got Oregon State and Washington State. Now, those 10 teams, that's not a terrible conference. But I'd say even more than that, you can reach out and get aggressive with what's out there on the market, right? And for me, It's some combination of Tulane, UTSA, and SMU. And I would go as far as to say, for me, the real good ones there are SMU and UTSA, especially because you got that Texas. Texas is right there, right? I think that would just be a perfect fit. But then you'd be at a 12 team, pretty decent conference. I don't think that's a Power Five level conference, but I think if you're the remaining pack and you're the Mountain West, obviously there are going to be a good chunk of Mountain West teams that get screwed over in this scenario. I'm not avoiding that. There's a good chance they just don't find another group of five or Power Five conference and get relegated to a lower league. I'm not even doubting that could happen, right? But that's if I'm the pack, that's what I want. And who knows? I mean, I would say worst case scenario for the pack, you could merge and still add those teams. Like, even if you took all the teams from the Mountain West, merged with the pack, and then added on, Troy, UTSA, Tulane, and what was the last one? And SMU. I mean, that would not be a terrible conference. It'd be a really big conference, but a lot of talent. I mean, I would imagine that'll be worth something to someone in some capacity. So just an idea there. But yeah, tomorrow the Pac-12 is meeting with the Mountain West to discuss a merger. But I would imagine for the Pac to be some sort of thriving conference in the future, they need to make a move elsewhere and the Mountain West. And I would imagine the Mountain West and the elsewhere teams are going to say yes. I mean, imagine you kept that. I don't think Stanford's here for the long haul. But even if it's like Oregon State, Washington State, SMU, Tulane, UTSA, and then the best teams from the Mountain West, I mean, maybe you can get like 10, 15 million a year for that. That doesn't seem outside of the bounds of reality. I'm not sure, but I would imagine. So, but let's go ahead and move on. Let's start talking about the Big 12. All right, guys. Now let's talk Big 12. So I just talked a lot about what the Mountain West and the Pac could do, that they could survive. Now, I think if you're the Big 12, you're not too worried about the Pac's survival. But I do think ideally you want to grab the other good team. I think there's a reason that Yormark's reported to be meeting with 8 to 10 teams in the coming days, right? He knows that there's some valuable assets on the market that the Pac wants to go get, or what's left of the Pac wants to go get, right? They're meeting with the Mountain West. So if you are the Big 12 and you're Brett Yormark, obviously you want some of these basketball only brands. But when we talk about basketball only brands, I don't know about you guys, I don't even factor them in the sense of how the conference is going to work. Like, that's a little complicated for me of how a basketball only brand is going to work. But if you're Brett Yormark, this is what I'm looking at. Really similar to the schools I said you should look at if you're the Pac in the Mountain West right now. But I think if you're the Big 12, I would make it a little more regional. I think you want to get some California. And I think I would go. I mean, obviously, what I would do if I'm the Big 12, the first schools I'd go grab aggressively are Oregon State and Washington State. Those Oregon State and Washington States would be huge grabs for the Big 12. I would imagine, like I said, they're going to take a reduced share, which is awesome. But then on top of that, I'd go grab what else I could that's on the market, right? I think the schools that make it a fantastic fit for the Big 12 are schools like UTSA, and then you got SMU. They're right in Texas. I mean, imagine we were to grab all four of those schools. And maybe I'm getting too wild with the predictions for what expansion could be. But I think right now it's like go grab the good stuff that's out there. I mean, you could probably grab Oregon State, Washington State, SMU, UTSA, all at a significantly reduced share. And then, get creative. I mean, if we could grab SDSU, San Jose State, Cal, maybe, and even Stanford. I've heard a lot of Stanford talk to the Big 12. I don't know if Stanford wants to do that. And I don't know if we did grab Stanford, if that's a long-term thing. But you think about that, dude, that could be a big hit and a big grab of what's left of that California market. That'd be a lot of good, or at least decent California schools. And you think about it, if you're Stanford and you have the opportunity to be in a conference in California where your main California competition is just Cal, San Jose State, and San Diego State, that doesn't sound good to you? That doesn't sound very winnable and really good for your brand? I mean, yeah, for sure, they're not going to play, unless it's out of conference, they're not going to play the elite California schools. But how's that been working out for them recently? Right? How's that been going recently? Not well, right? So I'm thinking a lot of this makes sense. So a lot of really cool options. Obviously, UConn and Gonzaga for the basketball only expansion, but bunch of good football schools still out there. I didn't even mention Tulane for the Big 12, but I think that'd be a great fit as well. Kind of help with the more East Coast. So outside of that, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Make sure you guys like the video, comment down below what do you guys think the pack needs to do right now in order to survive, and also for the Big 12, what do you guys think the best move for the Big 12 is in the next coming weeks, months, as far as expansion goes? Who are the schools? Do you think we don't touch anything else? Do you think we go basketball only? Do you think we go hardcore football expansion? I want to know what you guys think the next moves are for the Big 12 and the Pac 12. I'm out of here, though. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We'll be posting a ton of content. Pac 12, Big 12. Seriously, if you guys are Pac 12 or Big 12 fans, I do a detailed breakdown every week of the season of your team if they face Utah. So it's just as much a breakdown of Utah as it is of your team. And maybe a little biased towards Utah, but I'd say it's a pretty fair breakdown. And I give credit where credit's due. But outside of that, I'm out of here, guys. Go Utes.